Thank you for taking time out to visit my channel today. So today I will be looking on a economics question, and it reads, analyze the effect of the following conditions on the equilibrium price and quantity of bread. Use separate demand and supply diagrams to evaluate. A, an increase in the price of biscuit, which is a substitute good. B, an increase in income where bread is an inferior good. C, a general increase in the price of cooking gas. And D, the government decides to give a subsidy to bakers of bread. All right, so stay tuned and I will definitely break down these questions and also provide answers. All right. All right, guys. So let's just go through this together to ensure that we are on the same page. All right. So for part A of the question, as you can see, I went ahead and created a lovely diagram here to assist me in explaining the rationale in answering this question. All right. So basically, we are here to evaluate what effect the increase in a substitute good would have on the demand and the supply of a primary good, in this case, which would be bread. So, when you're doing a diagram, firstly, you have to draw up your different axes. So we have our y-axis, have the y-axis here, and we have our x-axis here. So on the y-axis, where y-axis represents price, x-axis represents our quantity. So here we have quantity 0 and we have price 0. So this would be the current demand curve and price, also the quantity and equilibrium of the product that we are making reference to. All right. So as the question states, if there's an increase in the price of a substitute good here, meaning the biscuit, what would the impact be on the demand for bread? So let's break it down this way. Let's say you went to the supermarket earlier this week and you normally purchase maybe 2 cases of Excelsior water crackers for $10. And with that, you also purchase 2 bread for, say $10, just the same, right? No, let's say $15. And you return to the supermarket later that week, right? And the price for the crackers increased to $12, but the price for bread would remain at $10, all right, or $15. So what would you do? What kind of spending would you carry out in that sense? Most spenders would end up maybe purchasing an extra bread and 1 less package for the crackers. So that's the same analogy, that's the same rationale you'd have to use in this case, because we're still referring to the economy. All right. So here would represent price 1. As you can see, there's an increase in price. So what would this do on bread? So at price 0, let's say the quantity here would have been 10 being purchased at this price, which is the equilibrium price, right? So if there's an increase in the price of biscuit, then that would automatically mean that the demand for bread would increase. As such, the price would be, the new equilibrium price would be here, and the new quantity would equate to Q1 here. So in representing all this information here on the graph, this is how your graph should look. So P0, Q0, this represents, this area here is the equilibrium area, and you start at price 0, you then increase to P1, which is price 1 on your y-axis, and in explaining this now, if the price increases here, it will take your equilibrium price to here. So as you can see, it would be above the previous one. And then that would automatically give you a new quantity. Going to the right on your x-axis would automatically increase the demand on this side. All right, so this would be your supply curve. Your supply curve would be this line here, and then along the supply curve you'll see the demand increases, right? And also the supply would also increase. See? So demand goes out on your supply curve, it will also increase. All right? So it's basically easy, guys. So just remember how to evaluate price increase of a substitute good versus a primary good. Once the price of a substitute good increases, it will automatically cause the demand of the primary good to increase. All right, so once price moves from price 0 to price 1, which would represent the increase, it will also cause the demand to change, meaning it will increase the demand. And this is my representation of the equilibrium price, and everything will change. So these dotted lines here represents the increase for part A. And normally, just to show that you understand what you're doing, you write a nice little sentence or two just to explain what your graph is saying. So it's important to have all your labels on your graphs to ensure what's going on. All right, so this is how your graph should look in answering part A of the question. And a summary would be the increase in the price for the substitute good will increase the demand for bread. All right, any questions, you can drop it in the comments, or any pointers, you can also leave it in the comments. All right, so let's move on to part B of this question. Stay tuned. All right, guys, thanks for staying with me. All right, so we're looking on scenario B in the question, whereby it's making reference to if there's an increase in income, what would the impact be on a inferior good, which is bread. All right, so we need to know what an inferior good is. An inferior good is basically a good where as income increases, the demand for that good would decrease. So as persons get more money, they would buy less of that product. All right, so for example, when you're broke, when persons are broke, they might go to the supermarket and buy 1 dozen mackerel, right? But when there's an increase in the amount of cash they have, they might go there and buy 6 mackerel and end up buying maybe 2 pounds of chicken or something of that sort. So the demand would decrease. All right, so in explaining this now on the graph, again, you draw up your nice diagram. Sorry for the closeness of these two letters here. So this is the x-axis, and this axis represents quantity. So these are separate. All right, so unlike the first diagram, there are a few changes with this diagram. All right, so we still have our supply, we still have our demands here. All right, so as explained before, if bread is recognized as a inferior good, income increased. So since income increased, as I said before, there will be a decrease in the demand for bread. So P0 would be the equilibrium price for bread when income was stagnant, no increase, no change in income. So this would be the demand would be, let's say this is 10. So Q0 here would be quantity demanded, right? Which would represent here, and also the price. So this would be the equilibrium price for bread. However, because income increased, persons tend not to purchase so much of this inferior good. So as you can see, the price would decrease, right? And the equilibrium price here, it's basically showing that the equilibrium price for bread would also decrease. In a sense, also, sorry, you would find out, you'll realize that the quantity demand for bread will also be decreased. There's also a decrease in the quantity demand for bread. So again, when you have an inferior good, once there's an increase in income, once people are gaining, extra cash, more money, they will purchase less of that good. So it's very much important to look for these keywords when you're working these questions, and also to know the meaning of them. So inferior means that inferior good, the demand will decrease once income increases. So just to represent that on your graph should look something like this. I also created it on a graph sheet, but it's too close for explanation, so I went ahead and created another one here to better explain. All right, so again, you have your supply, and you have your original demand, D0. P0 represents equilibrium when no change was made to the income, but since there's a change in income, you'll have a decrease here. So basically, what will happen here is that from here to here, you show that there is a decrease. Also, you can indicate that decrease or change here. All right, so that's how you would evaluate a statement like that. All right, so you're not finished. To maximize on your grade, you should also make a statement. So therefore, you look down here, I made a nice statement here to explain what's going on up top. So the increase in income will decrease the equilibrium price and quantity demand for bread. So again, as you see, the equilibrium price changed from price 0 to price 1, and the demand changed from Q0 to Q1 in the opposite direction. All right, so that's it. Again, if you have any questions, you can definitely leave it in the comments, or if you have any pointers, you can definitely leave it in the comments also. You can like and share so other persons can be educated. I'm going to move on to part C of the question now. Okay, stay tuned. All right, guys, thanks for staying with me. All right, so part C of the question basically is making reference to a general increase in the price of cooking gas. So we know that we have to have the gas to make bread. So still on the bread thing. So in this case, they're saying that what will happen to demand and supply in the event that the prices for cooking gas increase. All right, so simple. On the diagram, on your diagram again, you draw up your nice diagram, but there are a few differences. All right, guys, thanks for staying with me. So this is part C of the question, and part C was making reference to the general increase in the price of cooking gas. So we're still on the bread topic. So you know that gas is required in baking bread. So they need the gas to bake the bread. So if gas increase, it will impact the supply and demand of the particular product itself. So let's work again with our diagram to ensure that it's very much clearer for you guys. I drew it on a clear paper this time. All right, so again, we have our different axes, X and Y axis. Again, Y axis represents price, X axis represents the quantity. As you can see, this diagram is way different from the previous diagrams. So let's get into it. So price zero is when cooking gas, the prices for cooking gas would have been stagnant, no change, nothing. So this where the quantity would be, the demanded quantity for bread when cooking gas prices remain stagnant. All right, so Q0. So this pointer here, all right, represents the equilibrium. So let's just get that to there. All right. If the price for cooking gas increase, that means there will be a need to increase the price of bread. So one would not make any profit if they keep the same prices. That would impact the supply and the demand. As you can see, price zero here is when nothing happened to the prices of cooking gas. However, when it increased, it will cause the price, the equilibrium price, to increase. Once the equilibrium price is increased, people would then demand less of that particular product. As you can see, once there's an increase, the demand will also be affected. Persons will tend not to purchase so much of this particular good. Then they might, in this case, they might resort to purchasing something else. All right. So it's quite, the diagram basically explains everything. So what will happen now is that the supply would then be affected. So supply, this is the amount they would supply in the event that the price would be, say, $10. Let's say the starting price was $10. So at $10, supply would be S0 here. In the event that it increase, the price would increase. All right, the price would increase there, and the quantity demand would decrease. As you can see, the new supply line here would indicate the change in demand. Once demand changes, supply will also change. You see? So as you can see, the supply went in this direction, demand is going in this direction. All right. So in your writing, the increase in cooking gas will increase the equilibrium price and decrease the quantity demanded. So price gone up, people will tend to purchase less of that particular product. So your diagram should look something like this. So instead of having two lines for your demand, in this case, you would have two different lines for your supply. You see? So people supply less when demand is decreasing. So why would the baker supply extra bread when persons are demanding less of it? So they would basically change there. So that's how it works. But the price here, you'll see an increase in the price. So that's it for this one. Again, any questions, you just post it in the comment section. Let's move on to part D now. All right, guys, so this is part D of our question, and it's basically making reference to what will happen to the commodity or the product if the government should provide a subsidy to the company or to whoever is making the bread. So again, you have to look for key terms. Subsidy. So subsidy is like a sum of money issued by the government to a company or to an industry to make the price of a commodity or a service low. So we're still referring to bread. So this company got some cash from the government to ensure that, you know, the price of bread is very low. So that will definitely have an impact on spending and also impact the demand and supply for the particular good. All right, so in this case, as you can see, the diagram looks a bit different again in comparison to the others. So This time I didn't put on the X and the Y axis. You should know that by now. So let's just get to the meat of the matter. So as you can see, our equilibrium price is here, very high. Price 0 represents equilibrium. When the price is high, the supply, which is supply 0, is Q0. You can see that? Alright, so if the government provide a subsidy to this company, that means the company would then have to ensure that the price for the bread decreases. So as such, you see price 1 here, that shows the decrease in the equilibrium price. All right, with this decrease, it will then cause them to supply more. So with the decrease, supply increases, right? As you can see, QS here means the supply will increase. So they got some cash, right? So the cash that they got, cause them to reduce the price, because that's what a subsidy does, cause them to reduce the price. So in reducing the price, they supply more bread. So as such, you have this relationship. So the price decreased, there's an increase in supply and also the demand for the particular good. All right, because once the price decreases, people will buy more. But in this case, we're making sole reference to the supply of the good. All right, so in your little jotting, you'll have the subsidy will increase the supply and reduce the equilibrium price. All right, I trust that this helped. I trust that this was of help to you guys. So you can like and share. Again, if you have any pointers, you can leave it in the comments. All right, take care. Until then, take care.